Bridget's Literacy Journey. Throughout the semester, I have come to change my view on assessment. Before, I saw assessment as written tests students take to receive a letter grade or a percentage in return. Now, after creating assessments and teaching lessons, I found assessment runs much deeper than an A or a B. While teaching my third grade unit on the solar system, I assessed my students every week on their comprehension, participation, and work they created. Based on how they were doing each week, I was able to make adjustments to support their own literacy. One of my students in the third grade unit struggled reading and writing, so when I noticed this, I adjusted how I assessed his progress. I had him verbally explain things to me, then draw a picture, and I also changed my literacy standards for some lessons to show his discussion ability. All in all, I believe assessment is an ongoing observation teachers partake in to help their students be successful. Balanced literacy was a new term to me this semester, but I have seen it take action in many forms in the past. During a kindergarten phonemic awareness lesson, I was able to implement a balanced literacy approach successfully. To start the lesson, I used directed instruction, teaching about rhyming by looking at end sounds, then we sang, Down by the Bay. After this, we played a matching game, finding the pictures that rhymed with one given picture to create a coconut tree. Lastly, we read Chicka Chicka Boom Boom and pointed out rhyming sounds we heard. I wrote a paper supporting my thoughts about what theoretical models of literacy my beliefs align best with. The biggest aha moment I had while writing this paper was actually while I was in class and my professor said that all children are literate. This idea will always resonate with me because it shows that we as teachers should not disapprove of children's various forms of literacy. Whether it is drawing pictures representing ideas or writing full text, all students are literate in some way. I will take this belief with me when I teach to help develop students further. Throughout my third grade unit, I was able to apply this theory of literacy learning, including a variety of resources, Prezi, informational text, videos, and even Play-Doh. I provided activities in my lessons for all students to enjoy, as well as leaving room for adjustments. Supporting phonics, vocabulary, and comprehension were all focused on throughout this semester. To show the support of phonics, I was able to help co-teach a lesson on prefixes and suffixes. This lesson involved direct instruction along with a supportive read aloud and bingo for prefixes and suffixes. Almost every lesson I planned involved some sort of vocabulary sustenance. More specifically, my third grade unit on the solar system contained many vocabulary words. To support all of these words, the students wrote each word in the back of their learning journal and wrote out their own definition or drawing to represent the vocab. As far as comprehension, I taught a whole class lesson on point of view to back understanding. This lesson was extremely fun because I got to watch my students write out what they believed the characters would say in a form of a worksheet. Every lesson I designed incorporated the Common Core standards. I found picking the standards wasn't too difficult, but what was more challenging was preparing lessons that engaged students around the objectives. By using students' interests, hands-on activities, and a variety of teaching practices, I was able to develop more positive student engagement. By the end of the semester, I was able to confidently put together lessons integrating the appropriate Michigan grade level objectives and effectively connecting to my students. Each lesson I taught came in a variety of forms, being whole class, small groups, or individual children. By teaching my whole class lesson, I was able to jump into a class full of 8-year-olds and teach them point of view. I noticed how truly flexible you have to be as a teacher, and basically that you need to roll with the punches. In a whole class, there will always be a variety of learners with a variety of needs. So as a teacher, it is important to have an adaptable lesson to adjust to the spectrum of students. In a small group, I found this also to be applicable, and I noticed how powerful discussion can be for student growth. In class, we did a lot of small group discussion to get our ideas out and talk about personal experiences. These discussions opened my eyes to different views and connections. Using small groups is a beneficial way to embrace student collaboration, and I will definitely keep this tool for my future classroom. Teaching to the individual child is a great way to truly assess the student's strengths and spots they could use more support. When one of my students was absent in my third grade unit, I had the opportunity to teach just one student. I found many strengths and areas of growth on this day that I didn't seem to notice before. Taking the time to teach each individual child can help support the exact needs of that student. I had the opportunity to work with a student with a reading and writing disability who required an aid during my third grade unit. He was an extremely bright student who struggled to read and write. My other student excelled in her writing and reading, so the combination of the two was quite interesting. I had to make sure I supported the struggling student while challenging the other student. For this particular situation, I focused more on the struggling student's content knowledge and his ability to participate in discussions rather than on his writing. For the other student, I challenged her to add more detail and thought into her writing. It was such a beneficial experience because I saw my ASL teacher doing just this every single time I was in the classroom. Knowing where students are developmentally is crucial in planning appropriate lessons. This was a fun aspect of going into classrooms and teaching new students because the true test of flexibility was given. We never knew what kind of students we would have and where they would be developmentally in their literacy. I got the opportunity to work with all the types of readers, from emergent, early, transitional, and self-extending. For each of these types, I had to plan a lesson, making sure to apply the knowledge of where the students generally were developmentally. One example is my kindergarten read aloud. Developmentally, typically kindergartners are emergent readers. Knowing this, I was able to plan my lesson around the book Bark George with lots of pictures. To support comprehension, I modeled drawing the different animals shown in the book, and then after I read it, and they drew a picture of at least 3 details from the story. Reading and writing are both processes that intertwine with each other, so it is important to integrate both processes gracefully in the classroom. During my whole class strategy lesson, 3rd grade unit, and 1st grade informational text lesson, I was able to combine reading and writing through various activities. Some of these activities included responses to reading, analyzing text structures, and illustrations. In my Wednesday field placement, students partake in many activities of reading stories either as a whole class or with a partner, then writing about the story through the form of a worksheet. I noticed the teacher almost always connected some reading they did with a writing endeavor. Lesson planning was an area I was poor at in the beginning of the semester, but as my old coach always reminded me, practice builds confidence, and boy did I get practice. I worked on numerous lesson plans, developing my skills of planning and connecting curriculum while engaging students. Here are some examples of lesson plans I created, implementing the standards, objectives, anticipatory set, body of the lesson, and closure. Being a professional educator is something I take seriously. As teachers, we are role models to our students on how to appropriately act, talk, behave, and most importantly, how to be a good person. Another important aspect of being a professional is displaying high-quality literacy skills on all work and communicating effectively. I believe I was able to exhibit professionalism in the classroom by demonstrating all these aspects through my work and in my teaching. Being a professional educator is a privilege because there are always little eyes watching how you act, and they will mimic your actions. This experience influenced me tremendously as a teacher. I learned so many wonderful things about literacy, students, teaching, and myself. Watching students grow, witnessing those aha moments, and being a positive role model for children are all reasons I wanted to become a teacher in the first place. This experience further exposed these to me and also proved just how beautiful teaching is. I am so grateful for all these amazing opportunities.